Hey, everybody out there and watching on demand in the future. Today is Friday, September 22nd, and it's been a little over 24 hours, but it took less than 12. It took less than 12 to hit 100% on our Kickstarter. And right now we're creeping up. We're one away from 50 backers, and I just feel really freaking excited to be sharing this awesome project with all of you. And I have already seen this thing in action, and I think it's going to make a lot of people's games a lot freaking cooler. So let's hang out. Last time we walked through using this thing, and we did a Acolyte. So I'm going to walk you through the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation. So what is this thing? In case you just got here, right? This is a lot of things at once, but it's a toolbox. It's a spice cabinet. Choose your metaphor. But nuts and bolts, you've got 1,000 plus. Ooh, we got trouble. We got trouble right here in Liberal City. Hold on one sec. Hold on. Wait, what if I do this? Can you hear me? What's happening? Oh no. I don't know. We're pushing it to the limits, folks. I don't even know if you can hear me. I don't know if I broke the internet. I think the internet's fine. I think it's this laptop that's going. Oh, you were playing so nice yesterday. Am I gonna have to stop this and start again? Is that what's up? I'm frozen? Hold on. I don't like it. I don't like this at all. Ah, well. Okay. Whatever. I'm doing it anyway. If you hear me, let me know about it. Nacho can hear me, but I keep freezing. Yeah, why am I freezing? I'm set up like I was yesterday. I don't know. Well, forget it. I am 1/3 of this little project here, and probably the least interesting third, honestly. So let's focus in on the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation. And if it's a podcast, so be it. What's in the box? 1,000 character motivations broken up into D20 tables for 50 different archetypes. The whole basis of all of this is that it is arranged around some of your core, favorite backgrounds, essentially, and then a lot of other interesting things that I pulled from some other games and from the depths of my own imagination. And organizing all of this information around the player character archetype makes it that much more likely that it's going to be relevant to your game and to your players, right? If you're on the Game Master side of the equation, you're going to be adapting these prompts, these ideas, these concepts to your game world. But if these parts of your game world don't engage your players, then they're not going to explore them, and we've done all that building for naught. Well, you live in Middle Earth, Nacho. It makes sense to have Middle Earth internet, but I do think it was me. Depending on how successful this Kickstarter is, we might be upgrading some of the the YouTube equipment as well, so we can do more of this live streaming because I do really enjoy it. So thousands of character motivations, because if your character doesn't have a reason why they're going on the adventure, your character might be boring. So easy way to solve that. 20 easy ways to solve that based on what kind of character you're rolling up. Hundreds of calls to adventure. Why is your guy going to leave the bar in the first place, right? Why is my acolyte leaving the seminary to go on adventures? They need a reason why. Friendly factions to connect with assets and allies to provide support. Meaningful magic items. Antagonistic organizations and relevant rival non-player characters, evocative locations and settings, thematic monster concepts, and over 1,000 plot hooks, story seeds, and adventure ideas, custom crafted to get characters moving and the players excited. And again, I can't stress enough how all of this is targeted to connect the player character to the world so sparks start flying. This is for players to make awesome characters. This is also for game masters to make customized worlds. I mean, this is a great world building toolbox anyway. But unlike some other world building toolboxes, like say the 5th edition Dungeon Master's Guide, this is laser focused on the stuff that is actually going to come up in play. I enjoy as much as the next guy, crafting aeons of history and vast pantheons and creation myths. But if that's not relevant to the action at the table, then it's not going to come up, gang. And you're going to be if you spend all your time preparing that stuff, you're going to be less prepared dealing with the stuff that actually does come up. This is built to be seen in 2 pages. I'm doing it 1 page at a time to make it big for your screen, because it might be all you're seeing right now, depending on what my internet's doing. But it is designed for 2-page layouts, so it's kind of that command module setup where you've got everything in front of you. You're not flipping pages in the midst of playing, because there's a chance you go reaching for this thing in the middle of a game because you need to build a character, right? Because your character just died. Game master needs to build an NPC, or we need a new NPC faction, or we need a new adventure. The players zigged, and we were sure they were going to zag tonight, and they're going this way, and I don't have content for that. Give me 5 minutes. I'm going to drop some dice on the table. So let's talk about our character motivation for the acolyte that we made up last time. Their drive, dream, or aspiration was to shape the direction of their faith. So if you're making up a cleric, or you're making a paladin, or even if you're making, a seminary dropout bard who is more interested in playing their guitar or their lyre than, studying and getting into the robes of their order or whatever the case may be, they want to shape the direction of their faith. And this is the level of focus that the vast majority of these ideas are at. The idea is that this is going to be pretty specific, pretty flavorful, spicy, but also adaptable enough that a bunch of different types of characters, a bunch of different tables, a bunch of different settings and worlds and game systems. This is a system neutral product. All of that stuff will be easy to adapt. So, calls to adventure. Why is your character not in the tavern right now? Why are we going on the adventure? Why is it, what happened in the character's backstory to get them out of the seminary, right? In our acolyte's case yesterday, they had a divine vision, which came to them in a dream or during meditation. And, that's spicy. That's good. And that gives the potential for it to happen again. If it can happen once, it can happen multiple times. So if we want to deliver a plot hook, divine vision, poof, interesting, awesome, every time. If you're doing it right, I should say. our acolyte was actually fleshed out by and adapted, I should say, by Kelf in our Discord. I put an invite link in the description down below. Right now, hopefully you're looking at chat. And hey, chat, give me a d20 roll, because we're going to need that in a second. Character arcs. So this, I think, is one of, if not the most unique aspects to all of this. And I think the thing that is forgotten about more often than not in character creation and character development, the idea that a good character, a meaningful character, is one who grows and changes over time. So for our acolyte, we have a blind follower to a free thinker. That's something I can do a lot with, honestly, as a player. I mean, as a dungeon master, I can tee up some opportunities for them to adapt and grow, but I have a starting point and I have a trajectory, right? How does that story get filled as we play through the game, a campaign, weeks and weeks and months of play? Who knows? That's the exciting part, right? But the baseline idea in place, session 0, is going to make it much more likely that I actually do have a satisfying character arc, and my player character isn't just static. Friendly faction for our acolyte last night was the Gardens of Serenity of Vineyard and Abbey, keeping a vow of silence and a powerful secret. And man, did we run with that. Sometimes, like, as these things pile up, they start to connect with each other. And the Gardens of Serenity, these wine-making monks who starts off, it's a vow of silence, but then it was a magical, silent spell around this whole abbey, which started to interact in some very interesting ways with our other results. We figured we probably would figure out where that was, and here's some stuff about it from the asset or ally, the friendly NPC that we pulled, Brother Galen, an ancient acolyte who never advanced, brimming with rumors, and we waxed poetic about how rumors are great, if not necessary, for a dungeon master to have ready to rock. They're just a great resource for information, but also misinformation, disinformation, right? Brother Galen here might not necessarily know everything. He might be talking out of school. So the idea to have a non-player character out of the box, that for each player character at the table, everybody knows somebody, right? Just, if you're a game master, your wheels are probably already turning. What could you do to Brother Galen to get the characters to go find him and save him? And what could Brother Galen tell them? And now we have this built in. We have buy-in with the player out of the gate. So there's no like, oh, insight check. Does Brother Galen, is he actually a doppelganger? Is he, the big bad evil guy in disguise? Like, no, you went to school with this guy. You've known him forever. This was a lot of my players' favorite part. Some of my favorite stuff to cook up: magic items and meaningful objects. Now, again, system neutral, so you can kind of scale these to be level appropriate. And I gave just about all of my player characters a magic item out of the gate, which I'll make a video soon about how much I regret doing that. But you don't have to just hand these out. It could be, as in the case with our acolyte here, something that they know is out there and serves as like a magical MacGuffin that's going to drive the plot forward. So we pulled Peeling Retribution and Inscribed Bell, or Singing Bowl. We went with Bell, but man, Singing Bowl would be cool. It deafens all others in range. So, dial in that, Constitution save DC, or the radius of the area of effect to suit your purposes. Maybe make it single target if you're handing it out at level 1, but that's a very cool, flavorful magic item, if I do say so myself. And now we're getting to the flip side of the coin. All of that stuff, if a dungeon master, a game master is willing to, like loosen their grip on the reins a little bit, maybe they're a little more experienced, they can share the NPC generation and the friendly faction generation, and especially the magic item side of it. That's like that's the last one on that page, because some people might want to hold that back, and I understand. The flip side, the other side of the 2-page spread is going to be very much in the game master's control. When I rolled up characters with my players for two different groups, we didn't use this side. This side's for me. So antagonistic organization is the first table in that set, and for us we pulled the Reliquary Raiders, dungeoneers who find and loot ancient holy sites for profit. So I mean, a rival adventuring group in the mix is a huge asset for a game master to, one, clean up old quests that are no longer relevant, and two, to make the player characters jealous, essentially, and three, honestly, to like custom craft 5 characters to go after your 5 characters and like hit their weaknesses. It's a lot of work, and it's a little dirty, but I've done it. So the Reliquary Raiders were going after that magical bell, which of course was in that vineyard where the monks maintain silence so that no one hears that bell and is deafened by it. Evocative locations. Did we skip? I think we skipped because we went with the Abbey. No, I'm sorry. Evocative locations, we did the Pillars of Divinity, natural structures or remnants of a giant edifice considered holy. And we were talking about how the gods overthrew the Titans in this world, and the Abbey was built on these huge spire of stones. I just realized I actually skipped over our rivals and enemies. So the evil faction can 100% suit you for here, but for our acolyte that we rolled up yesterday, we got Cantum Bell, who I don't want to forget because it was actually pretty cool. A charismatic cult leader seeking to unleash an evil god. So, maybe that's some evil cleric in the Reliquary Raiders, or that's somebody else who's trying to obtain the bell at the Pillars of Divinity, where his evil god used to, hang out in his palace before overthrown by our acolyte's deity, be they a cleric or a paladin or the bard or a monk, or pick, it could be the rogue, it could be the fighter. Wasn't quite cut out for the magical side of the divine, but like, I was good with the sword, and I'm going to swing it for Paylor. Smite you with the power of the sun. Well, I guess maybe not smite. Thematic monsters, almost definitely my favorite part to make. And again, system neutral, so like thematic monster concepts, but very quick and easy to reskin if you can't find an appropriate, challenge rating. But the fact that there isn't a stat block here, just an idea, means it's super adaptable whatever level you're running at. So for our, actually the skeleton might be the guy, but for our acolyte last time, we pulled the Inquisitors, judges who made a pact with the devil, trading undeath for guilty souls. So that could be some warlock powers, or just, it could be shadows. Choose your undead. And these guys are perhaps unleashed by those Reliquary Raiders, or some other action by the player characters themselves. Maybe we're getting a little murder hobo-y, right? And these judges who have made a deal with the devil to stay alive past death, to stay undead, are now out to get them. And the biggest chunk of every page, every set of pages, is going to be the plot hooks and the story seeds, because this is the stuff that you're going to go reaching for again and again throughout play. If you have an adventure you want the characters to go on, the more plot hooks you can connect to it. And the more you can connect those plot hooks specifically, custom, tailored, bespoke to the player characters your players are bringing to the table, the better. So you got D20 of these, which you can use to homebrew adventures 100%, and you can use them to adapt to adventures either you already have in mind or even perhaps you already have on the shelf and you're ready to run. So for our plot hook, for the Acolyte last time, we got a religious artifact has been uncovered that can be very dangerous in the wrong hands. And we essentially already have all of the elements of that story from the other dice rolls and our imaginations. So that was a lot of fun, and I want to do it again with you all. So we're going to continue. Oh, I should mention, this is on Kickstarter. Ooh, we hit 50. Thank you. Number 50. Links up in chat. If you haven't supported us yet, please come check it out. And by check it out, I mean download this thing that I am showing you right now, because I made a big, beefy PDF, 38 pages. I think 38 pages on the Kickstarter, with seven full spreads. You could build. I mean, you could build more than 7 characters, but you can build 7 kinds of characters tonight at your table with your players. Run a session 0 or break this out for the characters that already exist and make them that much more interesting and connected to the world that you are running. I plan to talk about stretch goals and stuff, but like I'm just kind of basking in the glow of hitting 100% in a day, y'all. So there are stretch goals. We're going to hit some of them, if not all of them, and I feel really good about that. I'm going to make a graphic and spell it all out for everybody. But I almost feel greedy. I don't know. It's an abundance of gratitude has just made me want to geek out over this and share it with you all and like show you. Nacho was number 5. That feels good. Thank you, Nacho. I just want to get this. I just want to get this out there, right? The more people that support it, the more ambitious I get to be, and the more content is actually going to be in here. So if you are one of the 50 or are considering becoming number 51, it would help me out, but it would also help you out to spread the word about this project. Show this to people, get them to roll dice on it. I mean, it's hard for me to judge because it's my baby, but there's value here. I've used it with 10 different people, and again, our buddy Kelf, who live streams on Twitch 2 different games and his D&D and chill chat, he's used it a couple times now, made some pretty awesome characters, and he's got a way with forming these connections and a way with words, some really poetic stuff. Sitting on the Discord right now, go check it out. So yeah, I don't know, maybe Monday we'll talk about stretch goals. Hey, it's on Kickstarter. Did I mention it's on Kickstarter? Let's go to the tables themselves. And now consider this, play test material. We are definitely in beta test draft mode. We very well may see a typo here or there. And for that, I deeply apologize. It does hurt my English major heart to not give you a perfectly polished product, but I'm overeager and I want this out there, and I want people to see, this isn't done, and that's the idea with crowdfunding, right? But I want you to see what we're actually talking about here. So with that in mind, let's go. We got a 19 and a 6. We're rolling with advantage. So the concept is you roll the dice, you take the result. But we all know, unless you're, maybe you're a 3d6 down the line, maybe you're a 4d6 and drop the lowest, and that's what we're going to do here today, I think. However you want to do things, but my philosophy, make it your own, and that includes the entries, right? So if you Tickle rolls 19, right, and if 18 looks more appealing, take 18. If 19 makes your imagination spark and you start thinking, oh, that's cool, but it would be so much cooler, that would be your answer. Or, Nacho rolls a 6, he sees 6 and he's like, oh, that's dumb. I think the opposite of that would be better. Do that. Do the opposite. All right, so 19. So this is our character's motivation. Oh, I should say we're looking at the acrobat, which you won't find. Well, I mean, there's a lot of backgrounds on D&D Beyond. Nacho mentioned Endin Galarian, Pathfinder 2nd edition has a bunch of flavorful ones. So you very well may find an acrobat, but this is outside of the the basics. But man, what potential for storytelling, and like it fits quite nicely with a rogue jumps to mind immediately, but like any dexterity based character, or even arguably a strength based character. I mean, a monk acrobat. Yeah, I mean, again, a fighter. I can make you any kind of fighter. I think fighters are underrated. But, you know, I used to be an acrobat, and then I took a fall, and now I'm a wizard, you know? Please forgive me for. Nah, don't forgive me for staying hydrated, but I'm going to stay hydrated. Sorry. Deal with it. I don't know. So, Tickle rolls a 19, and he pulls Life is short, so you better leave a legacy. Oh, if a player said that's my guy's thing, life is short, so you better leave a legacy. And I'm gonna write that down, so I got this in front of me. Life is short, so you better leave a legacy. So let's dive into Ryan's philosophy of character creation, and it is all very philosophical and theoretical because Ryan hasn't made a character in a while, but Ryan's making a character for the Blank Slate podcast. Where's it here? He's in our Discord too. Been in our Looking for group. He's been running 4 or 5 one-shots every week for months and months now, and that's coming to a culmination, and I am going to participate on Monday. So definitely check out that stream. It's actually my first time. Yeah, it's my first time playing in a live stream. So that's super exciting. Come see me embarrass myself. But my philosophy to character creation, which I think is underrepresented, because we are precious with our characters, right? But your character is either going to die in a blaze of glory, it's going to die for a cause in a very memorable way, and we're going to tell stories about it for years to come, or scheduling conflicts or a shiny new thing is going to make us change up, and your character is going to be forever left on pause somewhere in the middle of an adventure somewhere. There's a slim chance they reach higher. They hit level 20. You hear stories about it. People go on Reddit and do AMAs about it. Hey, I hit level 20. We ran a 3-year campaign, and the 5 of us were still together by the end of it. Ask me how I did it. Luck. I mean, I'm sure they were talented too. And I've had some, pretty long running campaigns. And I don't know if it's an attention thing, but we just paused 2 games to start new games because we're excited about the Shattered Obelisk and we like variety. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But a character with a death wish can make things a little bit tricky for the other people sitting around your table, first of all, including the game master, but also the other players. But ask yourself, this is going to be one of the stretch goals, but ask yourself, what is your character willing to die for? Because they're going to die one way or another, right? Unless they become a lich, which we don't want. So this acrobat, I don't know anything about this acrobat other than they're an acrobat. They probably have a high dex score, and they want to leave a legacy. I love that. And as a player, I'm going to be looking for opportunities to make an impact on the world, to make a story. That's incredible. Nacho pulls a 6. Become famous and a source of awe. I mean, those kind of dovetail pretty nicely, huh? That one's a little more ego-driven, right? Or it feels that way. That's my interpretation of it right now. Become famous and a source of awe. Nacho said, I don't think my games have gone beyond level 10. Honestly, I've had 2 go past 10 and into the low teens. I think the 13 or 14, we took Storm King Thunder almost to the end. I mean, if we're talking about D&D 5e, the game starts to break down. There's a reason there's not high-level adventures. So I wouldn't feel I think that's par for the course. And honestly, I think if we don't need to get into the design philosophy of one particular company right now, because we've talked about that plenty. But I think it would maybe be more honest, or at least better. It would be better, right? No judgments. It would be better, maybe, if the game stopped at 10 or 12 or 15. I don't know. You see so many people arguing about capstone abilities, and it's just like, have you played a lot of D&D? Right? You're worried about what your character's going to get at level 20. That's 2 years from now, if we're lucky. I don't know if you all signed up for tangents, but you're getting them. Become famous and a source of awe. I mean, that feels like something as we level up, right? Hey, chat, give me a D12. As we level up, right, and start doing superhuman feats, right? Even if we are a rogue, an uncanny dodge comes online, or I mean, that feels right. Let's go rogue. I want my acrobat to be a rogue. You can make your own character at home while we do this. Because you can go to the Kickstarter page right now and download this PDF and roll up your own characters. And it's probably more fun to do yourself than to watch me do. And it's definitely faster when you are not talking about doing it. My idea for number 6, an elderly type person who suddenly gets wild. Oh, he's like, we're getting ahead. We're getting ahead. The thrill is gone and they need a challenge. Oh, Nacho, you're talking about the motivation side of things. An elderly type person who suddenly gets wild magic. Well, yeah, that's also a way to go with it, is like, I used to be an acrobat, but I can't do the flips no more, right? A retired acrobat who has started a new life, because I mean, taking a fall feels like a dramatic moment. We'll see what our call to action is right here. But yeah, I mean, a wild magic surge. Maybe they see somebody else fall. The thrill is gone and they need a challenge. I mean, that's a reason to retire, right? Because yeah, thrills. This is a thrill-seeking character. Thrill is gone. It's also a blues playing character. Thrill is gone. And they need a challenge. I mean, the adventuring life is a good way to do that, right? You ever, run or play next to or run the game for a character who's afraid of everything? Have you watched a live stream where, thanks Brian, what's up man, good to see you here. The smart, cautious character is one thing, but the character who you have to drag on the adventure because they're scared of it, right? Here's a good solution to that. This character is a thrill seeker who's looking for a challenge because they got bored of doing death-defying, feats of daring do high in the air. A D8, please and thank you. So I am already pretty enamored with this character, and the rogue feels right. I don't know. There's a lot of flavors of rogue, right? Rogue baseline, thief. Right, urchin background, but like acrobat. Now we're talking. I'm feeling like swashbuckler. I'm feeling like maybe more like a little bit of charisma action here. I mean, he's a performer, right? I mean, performer's a thing, but like, that's it. See, two ideas. I mean, this is the good stuff for me. If it's not the good stuff for you, then like, okay, you don't have to buy it. You can still use it for free. But like this is what I love. I love a tool that it doesn't just give me answers. It helps me generate my own answers from that like, creative part of myself. My imagination sparks because of these limitations. Essentially, these little seeds start to grow. A street performer who gains real magic power when they come of age, like a midlife crisis. I mean, yeah, that's it. Because especially if we're talking about like an elf, say, or like a gnome, right? I think gnomes are underrepresented. If you're talking about one of these characters with like a longer lifespan, you could have backgrounds, right? You lived 1,000 years, right? I was an acrobat in my 40s. I'm 85, 100. Like, yes. So a midlife crisis for a character who's going to live 500 years might be after a century performing in the circus, right? That was their, what would be teens to us. Circus performer is a thing. I think circus performer might be, so, full disclosure, the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation is not finished yet. And there is a list of 50 archetypes that are slowly becoming fleshed out. But man, it's a changing list. It's an ever-changing list. The list was almost going to be 100, and that might become a stretch goal tool. Number 7 on transformation, growth, and character arcs. Recklessness to courageous awareness. I mean, if that's a great development for our thrill seeker here who quit the circus because he got bored and went to adventuring. Recklessness. That's the thing. You charge into the dungeon, you get your bell rung, you drop to 0 hit points, you die and get magically resurrected. That doesn't change you as a person, as a gnome, as an elf. Recklessness to courageous awareness, right? So again, dodging that scaredy cat character. Courageous awareness. So there's a time and a place. We want to leave a legacy, but if you die too quickly, you're not leaving that. Can I get a D4, chat, please and thank you? Transformation, growth, and character arc is also something that maybe you're going to be replacing over time, right? Because that might be, level 1 through 4, right? Your character starts off, midlife crisis, rolls up in the, fantasy equivalent of Ferrari, right? They quit the circus, they spent their savings on a dope horse, and they roll up to the tavern, and they're looking for adventure. And they get shot full of arrows and maybe scorched by a fireball or two, and they start to evolve and change as a person. And now they're maybe a little less interested in becoming like famous and creating shock and awe, but they want to leave like a more meaningful legacy. But people watching live or after the fact, if you're watching the VOD, Nacho's dropping some cool stuff in chat. I mean, there's some cool stuff going on in chat beyond that, but Nacho's building a character live with us. So down in the description, I think it's going to be like comments if you're watching the VOD, and you can switch over to the live chat. And again, I encourage you to make your own version of this. I mean, you can take this character that I'm making right now and run with it, but you can also strip it for parts. We've got a 2 on the D4 for our friendly factions. So factions are underutilized in a lot of games. I mean, maybe at your table factions are great, but I've never had any character really be interested in joining the Lord's Alliance or the Harpers, at least for more than one session. They're like, oh, that's cool, what's in it for me? I was like, well, actually not all that much. The player characters want to be a faction, but they will interact with the Lord's Alliance. They'll be friendly with the Lord's Alliance if it's gaining them benefits, it's gaining them resources and discounts or whatever. So the Ring of Masters, Game Masters, a loose network of circus artists sharing information and aid. That's cool. Because it's very useful if you can turn to a player and be like, oh, hey, a guy who might know something about this. Wild magic and dimension. There's madness going on down there. That's a good way to play it. So a wizard who goes too deep becomes a Nothic. Does that happen all at once? A wizard who becomes a lich probably extends their life for a long time before that. Phylactery soul jar nonsense. So Yeah, I could see a lot of ways to get there. I could see a lot of ways. That's an interesting character. I also like the two characters being made at once. So this wild magic craziness. Does this product have content for genres other than fantasy? So the answer to that is no, and it was going to, and there might be a sequel one day because I was very there are spreads exist for more like grittier cyberpunk, but the problem, not the problem. No, the problem is that I get overambitious. So I wanted to make one focused one first, chock full of options. And yeah, could you adapt this to? I mean, is there a Call of Cthulhu version of what I've just written down? 1,000%. We're running with 5e. Because not just building us a wild magic sorcerer, right? But in a setting that is Edwardian Gothic horror, or traveler sci-fi. I mean, what does acrobatics look like in the future when I have anti-gravity or zero? What does acrobatics look like in zero G? Interesting questions for you to answer at your table. And okay, not every archetype is going to work without a lot of translation, but an acrobat in something like Traveler or Shadowrun, even cyberpunk acrobat. Life is short, so you better leave a legacy. I don't care what you're playing. That's a good game. That's a good motivation for a character. Become famous and a source of awe. I could see that really exploding in your face in Call of Cthulhu, right? Or Traveler for that matter, or Shadowrun. You're getting a little too much heat. The thrill is gone, and we need a challenge. Check. Recklessness to courageous awareness. Check. Now we're getting maybe into more, other characters and groups here. This might be a little more fantasy flavored, but the Ring of Masters, a loose network of circus artists sharing information and aid. I mean, when the circus comes to town in a spaceship, or honestly, I'm getting like Carnival vibes if we're going. Not Carnival 2 actually, but is it Carnival? What was the HBO show back in the day? One is more recent. I don't know, Carnival, there's like Carnival Row and Carnival? I'm not sure. But either way, yeah, I mean, Acrobat gives me circus, and circus gives me creepy things happening in the shadows. And it's not a long road to, the great old ones from there. So yeah, so far so good. This feels multi-genre to me. I do think that might break down because this was designed with high fantasy systems in mind. But so far so good. I'm just gonna leave Ringmasters because I want to keep on rocking here. Give me a D6, please, and thank you. Well, now my wheels are turning because it's an interesting challenge to. Because again, these are character archetypes. There is some sort of like tonal assumption being made, but I've been very careful to not make this 5e. Because honestly, look, I don't know what game I'm going to be playing in 6 months, gang. I played 3 games this year, and all of those games, well, the 2 big ones are changing, right? And I don't know if I'm going to like it. And everybody, Carnival is HBO, Carnival Row is Amazon. Oh, so I was right. Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I need streaming, if nothing else, has taught me that it's great to have people fact checking me. Keeps me honest. The idea is I don't know what I'll be playing, gang. There's some very interesting stuff happening down the line. If we're talking and just restricted to like high fantasy tabletop role playing games, so the concept with the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation is that like this will be good next year, whatever the system is. I did spend some time working on like a universal archetype, so it was like genreless as well, and you just lost a little bit too much of the juice. So I'll tell you what, if we're if I'm sitting here in a couple weeks and we're looking down the barrel of like $500,000, I don't freaking know. Not, unlikely. I don't want to say impossible, but like unlikely. But if we start talking about like if we start talking millions, right? Like half million. If we start using the M word, then like 100% we can blow this thing out and like expand genres. I got 6 and a 5 for assets and allies. So our asset here is Whisper, a mummer who never says a word, but is always listening. He could work at the monastery. Whisper the mummer. I mean, I see, yeah, the mime, right? But mummer, maybe they're mute. Whisper the mummer who never says a word but is always listening. It's always good to know. So Kelf pulled up a pretty different NPC, but he pulled up a the homeless network in John Wick. And man, or like various spiders in Game of Thrones, like it's good to have friends in low places that like people are ignoring, maybe are a little loose-lipped in front of, because no one thinks that Whisper is going to be sharing their secrets, but like she's not illiterate, right? All right, and we also got 6. Pietro, second story. Yeah, here's our rogue, an old troop member who now finds crime much more lucrative. I mean, you want to talk about motivation? Get that money. So we've retired from the circus or left because we're bored, right? We know a guy who's doing second story work, and Pietro's maybe going to help us with our heist. It's also going to maybe like present some sort of moral quandary for our players, right? Like we got some interesting decisions to make. How closely do we want to ally ourselves with this thief? All right, everybody's favorite part, D10, please and thank you. Pietro second story. I like that name. There's some, you can also just harvest this thing for parts, right? Like there are 6 NPCs, actually 12, really. 12 NPCs times 50 is, survey says, 600, 550. Without stretch goals, baseline. Hundreds of non-player characters that, I mean, are pretty flavorful, right? I'm not giving you a stat block and you can decide, what species they are, what gender they are. Like that's easy to come up with on the fly. What's harder is coming up with unique ideas after you've already come up with a bunch of them that night or that campaign. If I have to make up, 100 NPCs, you're going to start to see repetition, which is why I'm doing this, honestly, so I focus in and don't get that repetition, and I can go harvest my work. I mean, this is for me too, guys. But Whisper might have a place. Whisper might have a place. A mummer could be part of his street performer friends. Maybe he's real. Maybe he's just in his Nacho's in this whole other man. Imagine you're passing a player a note card and like here's this NPC that only you can see, right? That feels like spectral, like a ghost or something to me, right? If you're maybe our acrobat here eats it once, drops to 0 hit points, whether it's in the circus and that's what caused them to retire, or had some wild magic surge, right, and fell and fireball burnt up the net beneath them and maybe some of the audience, right, and now they're pariahs and can never go back to the circus. However you do it, yeah, having an NPC that like might be in your head. That's an interesting idea. All right, magic items and meaningful objects, I should say. Some of these, number 1, number 2, sometimes number 3, are sort of like less than magic items, but are going to be meaningful and plot relevant, and you're going to feel a lot safer handing out a character creation. But again, you could break this thing out in the middle of your campaign right now, you're at level 5, and you're like, hey guys, let's spice these characters up. Maybe you've been learning a new system like we were, and we're very focused on the rules and the abilities and the options and the feat. And now it's like, okay, let's balance the scales here and get into the story side of things, making sure we're playing our roles as much as we are rolling our plays. The Barker's wand. I like it already. Barker's wand. We can magically produce illusory sparkles or amplify the voice as well. I would give that away at level 1. Boom. Boom. Easy. I mean, prestidigitation for free, especially I'm a rogue, right? Maybe I'm an arcane trickster, right? Or again, let's play the genre game here. I mean, that's a very easy sci-fi device to make, right? It's creating holographic illusions around my head and projecting my voice. Yeah, that's any technology sufficiently developed is magic. It's a little thematically clashy with Call of Cthulhu. I'm sure you could use that, right? But that's a little more. I could get, well, no, you give it to a player and you let them get them into trouble. Barker's wand. All right, and now we're going to get into the world building side. Again, you could hold back on creating non-player characters and bespoke magic items with your players, and I would understand that. I think it's an interesting experiment. If you have a knee-jerk reaction that absolutely there's no way I would let my players help me shape an NPC, like I don't know how that's going to fit in my world, try it. I recommend you try it. Because again, Whisper can fit into any game. I could drop Whisper in the middle of Phandalin, right? He's a busker, right? He used to live in Neverwinter. I could drop Whisper in the middle of a cyberpunk game. I could drop Whisper in some spaceport somewhere, right? Flavor, salt to taste. But I could drop Whisper anywhere. And now this character has a relationship with that character out of the gate. Whisper can drop any sort of plot hook, any sort of lore drop, or Whisper can get got. Whisper can get snatched up, disappear, right? He got by Gerblins, or he shanghaied in the spaceport, or whatever the case may be. Let's get into world building with a D6. We're going to roll some D6s. I didn't mention it this time around, but this page was one of everything, which is deeply satisfying to me. Take one of every die, drop it. 20, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Here's your character. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I thought that was cool. The next page is a D20 and it's 4D6. Because unless maybe you're a 3D6 classical, hardcore, but 4D6, we're going to hold on to all of them probably. You can always drop whatever you don't like. And again, you can always adapt this. I mean, we're adapting this to other genres right now, but you can. I don't need the Barker's wand. I have prestidigitation. I'm making, I made a wild magic sorcerer or a wizard who quit the circus. So 7's not really going to work for me. All right, roll again. Or how do you feel about the collapsible balancing pole? Only 8 feet long. Oh no, only 8 inches long, but expands to 10 feet and aids in balancing. So it's a 10-foot pole. It's a 10-foot pole that fits in your backpack, because everybody needs a 10-foot pole, but nobody talks about where they go when you're not using them. The bag of holding, I know. You don't have a bag of holding level 1, but you got a 10-foot pole so you don't hit the pressure plate. So yes, a collapsible 10-foot pole that is aiding you in balancing, right? So system neutral, right? But is that a +1 to your dexterity ability score? Advantage on dexterity saving throws? A +2 to acrobatics? Dealer's choice. Are you handing this item out at level 1 or level 11? What game are you playing? You can make that work. Let's go to the next page. And again, in the book format or in the 2-page format, these are all at your fingertips at the same time. Natty 1 on our antagonistic organization. So an evil faction is potentially more useful in some cases than a good one, because an evil faction can keep sending enemies. So we got the Jester's Court, guild that tightly controls who performs in places and high society circles. The Jester's Court. So we got some like political intrigue if we want it. The Jester's Court. Because again, this is high fantasy leaning, and that's got medieval overtones and undertones and all sorts of tones. So like historically, and also literarily, if you read your Shakespeare, a jester can get away saying things to a king, right? That like nobody else could. Let's lock and load another D6. Let's keep this thing rolling. Let's get more dice on the table. So a guild that tightly controls who performs in places and high society circles. So, I mean, if someone's gonna snatch up Whisper off the street, it could be the Jester's Court, right? Someone's gonna, I mean, we're pulling the circus theme out of this one, definitely. An evil circus going town to town, right? Or controlling who's performing in these like high society events, these like galas, these balls, the King's Court. Sending very talented in different ways. Ayo, what's up, Kelf? Kelf, drop your stream if you feel like it, because your character was awesome. I was telling everyone to go into the Discord and look at your accolade among other things. Kelf made a dynamic duo of a bounty hunter and a detective. Is that where we landed? I think it was a bounty hunter and a detective, and it was pretty cool. That's in the advanced copy. I am sorry that is not available for free on the Kickstarter. But if you want a sneak preview at what's coming in the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation, check out Kelf's channel. He's got the big preview copy. Somebody give me another D6 for our rival or enemy. Ding, 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 ding. Yeah, so we have an acrobat, which like out of the box gives us the circus possibly, but we've pulled the connections that are forming here are definitely giving me circus vibes. But our character is no longer in the circus. They've retired, and they are seeking thrills and hoping to leave a legacy, which is a great way to motivate an adventurer, right? Eric and Rexif. I didn't get it until just now, but that I'm getting. I mean, I guess it's Batman and Batman, right? It's not Batman and Robin. Whoa, our acrobat could be Robin. Robin wasn't. He was in the Flying Graysons, right? A crime fighter going up against these dirty. Well, let's see. What do we got on 2? Typically gave us 2. Stupendous. Sorry, guys. I've held back a lot for a lot of these, but every once in a while, you're going to say one of these out loud. Make sure you say these out loud by yourself before you say it in front of your players. Stupendous. Collects and trains big cats for performances, questionable ethics and hygiene. Oh boy, that's a character. I could run with that guy. We doubled up on the 2. Yeah, Stacey needs new dice, or you're using digital dice. You need real dice. Stupendous. So he's a cat guy. He's a cat, but he's a big cat guy, right? That's a different. We're getting Tiger King. We're getting a whole different flavor of crazy here. This is and again, so these rivals and enemies, right? Maybe we're going to fight these guys, right? That's whatever flavor of high fantasy we're talking about, even, you know, less so old school and Call of Cthulhu, sci-fi style. Like, man, I keep getting away from the sci-fi potential here, but like, what does Stupendous look like in a space opera? Like collecting weird giant alien feline adjacent creatures from around the system. Like, oh man, now I want to see Stupendous in space. But again, maybe we're fighting Stupendous, right? And like summon Adam, like, and his menagerie, right? That'll be an epic battle. But also, maybe Stupendous is like just kind of a jerk that like used to be our coworker, right? And it's just like we can't really kill him without being, while considering ourselves a hero. But maybe Stupendous just sucks, right? He's got bad hygiene, right? He probably smells like big cat pee. And yeah, he's a little crazy. Maybe Nacho's running with this whole like wild magic sorcerer thing that like kind of just kicked in late in life. Maybe that's like that what toxoplasmosis, especially if we're talking space opera style. But maybe some magical cat from Shadowfell or the Upside Down or the Feywild, right? Some like a Displacer Beast style creature has weird science fiction or magical fleas and transmits some sort of contagion that gives us wild magic surges, and like, oh boy, that's Robin and Spider-Man at the same time, kind of featuring big cats. But I would play that. I want this. Maybe this is my next character. Let's go. That was the 2. We also got a 3 on the table. Lord Vence. Betrothed ran. Well, they're betrothed. Betrothed ran off with a circus performer, and now he hates anyone associated. So that's little Lord Fauntleroy, right? Like the Lord Vence just hates people like you because his bride-to-be, you can understand where she was coming from, ran away and joined the circus. Yeah, that's got a lot of potential. Oh man, another D6, please and thank you. Man, so there's like Lord Vence. Well, maybe Lord Vence is where the Jester's Court is like performing. And the Jester's Court, like just because so the Jester's Court stole away Lord Vence's, maybe it wasn't runaway bride style. Maybe she got snatched up with Whisper. Maybe she was Whisper. Too far. The Jester's Court is performing at Lord Vence's. When they leave, his blushing bride is no longer there, and now he's on a rampage. He hires the party to go track the Jester's Court down. But just because he's the quest giver doesn't mean everybody likes him, or he likes you, or he likes everybody else but this one particular character in the party. Maybe he's noble and princely and nothing but polite to everybody else, but then has it out for the rogue because he doesn't trust him. Yeah, that's juicy. That's rich. 6 on the D6 for evocative locations. And I already have, there's circus battle maps in the world, right? The old suspension bridge. Oh, I know that's out there. Oh, there's a lot already. That's an interactive environment. We could do a lot with that. I'm cutting ropes in my mind already. The old suspension bridge, long neglected and could go out any minute. Can't beat the classics. Yes. Yeah. And I have an expandable 10-foot pole that helps me balance, because this bridge becomes a high wire act pretty quickly. Ooh, do I like that? I forgot to write down stupendous. Can you believe that? I didn't stop and savor the joy of writing stupendous on my piece of paper here. Hey chat, one more D6 please. The old suspension bridge. Man, if you haven't had a bridge fight in a while, maybe tonight's the night, gang. Space bridge, Hulu, I mean, yeah, Cthulhu makes me more thinking like, what's at the bottom of this chasm, right? What was buried long below that the earth is offering up once again? Um, Bridge in a traveler, starfinder, space opera. Well, the bridge of a ship, right? But that doesn't. Well, all right. The bridge of a ship, long neglected, and could go any minute. So like, we've lost life support, right? Like the shields were down. Like this thing went down in a battle. It's space debris. Yeah, you can adapt. You can adapt these to other genres, if you're motivated, or you enjoy, like our acrobat here, a good challenge. And I'm sure you could do it. You could probably do it better than I, because I honestly I am steeped in fantasy these days, and I am performing live right now. So hopefully it doesn't look too much like it, but like, you know, my brain's running other processes too, as well as trying to create interesting adaptations of this fiction. We've got a 3 for our thematic monsters. Gravitas, earth elemental who can create gravity waves and induce vertigo. That's dope. I'm sorry. I like that. I like that. Your space opera, asteroid creature who controls gravity waves. Come on. Call of Cthulhu. I could make that a little more horrific pretty easily. I mean, if I can adjust the gravity that the space time your body's occupying, yeah, we could do some pretty intense stuff pretty quickly. And you know, classic Pathfinder D&D flavor, like that's a cool take on an earth elemental. Yeah, just like an earth, because what are earthbenders doing if they're not manipulating gravity? Cool. So where does gravitas fit in our story? I mean, we're going, like, what's on the other side of that bridge, right? Or what's the thing that came out of the chasm, right? Like this earth elemental. Well, there's a plane, there's a portal to the elemental plane of earth down at the bottom of this giant pit. Easy, give it to me. And who knows? You're fighting Stupendous and his cat menagerie on this bridge, and the bridge goes out, and you or some of these cats go falling down. There's nothing saying Gravitas couldn't like pick a side and uses its abilities to manipulate gravity to save some folks who were about to fall down. And you thought the battle was over, and now here's Stupendous is right back with you, and now Gravitas is next to him. 2-phase boss fight. Give me that D20. So the largest portion of all of this is plot hooks, story seeds, and adventure ideas. I run a lot of sandboxy style games, and I also really like to try to get ahead of that question, why are we doing this, right? And it still happens to me all the time. Not all the time, but it still happens to me occasionally. And it's visceral, gang, when it happens. I mean, sometimes it gets the players to like do a little rehash. Maybe it's been a couple weeks since we've played because scheduling or something. But why are we risking our lives right now? Why are we fighting a bunch of weird cat creatures? To save the mime? Okay, do I really care about the mime that much? Like, no, you wanted to leave a legacy end. Plot hook, plot hook, plot hook, plot hook, plot hook. Everyone's got reasons to be down in the dungeon or out in the belt or exploring the darkest reaches of the human psyche. whatever game you're playing. We've got a 16. The family. I'm getting Grayson's baby. I already lost my place. I got excited. The family troop has been cursed and are spreading the affliction as they travel town to town. Oofa. So we caught. Someone come up with a cool name for a disease that creates wild magic in people, right? Because that's what we got from Stupendus's freaking cats. So we retired from the circus. We made a while. All of a sudden, we went from being a monk, rogue, Dexy type character to being a wild magic sorcerer or barbarian. Maybe we've got some rage issues after all of this. Life is short. This wild magic stuff is happening, right? All of a sudden, we've contracted this condition. We're thinking about, mortality, right? Who knows where this goes as it develops. So we're thinking about leaving a legacy. We're thinking about becoming famous, right? We want to leave a story. We want to create awe. Wild magic is a pretty good way to do that, right? The circus is a little lackluster now. One, because it's where we've contracted our wild magic affliction. But two, I don't know. I think if you're doing, I'm not a gymnast, but you're doing kick flips and misties, or you're doing triple kowtows or something, that's got to be pretty cool until you can start shooting lightning bolts out your fingers, right? And then your your ideas about what's cool and thrilling change. And you get a little reckless because you don't know how much time you got, and you're just trying to make an impact. And you got it once or twice, right? Or you realize that there's consequences to your actions, and you start acting a little more courageous over time as the sessions advance. Yeah, that's a character with a real good plot hook. All of a sudden, you find out that it wasn't just you. Wherever the troop is going, wild magic zones are opening up, right? Anti-magic zones, but wild magic zones. And now when the party's fighting the Jester's Court on that bridge, because Whisper passed us a little note saying the Jester's Court were behind little Lord Fauntleroy's, what's his name, Lord Vence's betrothed's abduction, and we're facing off against them, and they throw your old, I don't know if Stupendous is still going to be there or not, player's choice, or the Gravitas is there, and you are fighting because you gotta save the town. You gotta save the town. You gotta stop this affliction that you have learned to control, but few others have, from spreading. And every time somebody casts a spell in this fight with Gravitas, we're making a check. Because it's a wild magic zone. Because the circus has been through here. I like that. I like that quite a lot. I hope you did too. I hope you're getting some enjoyment out of this, at least have as much as I am, because I love this stuff. And this is the juice, right? I love making powerful characters. I enjoy rich, intricate world building, which is what we're doing here, but in a way that that's going to be revealed at the table. This is relevant material. This has all been designed with a focus on creating things that are going to matter during play and are going to be quickly accessible during play. This is 2 pages. There's a handful of dice, 4d6, and you don't need all of this at once, right? Oh, okay, there's a fight coming up. Where am I going to set it? Roll a d6 or just look at it. Pick one. Easy, great. And you're going to have 50 versions of this. We're funded, ladies and gentlemen. This is a celebration. We funded. So this is coming. 50 archetype-based spreads are going to be in there. Again, we're going to talk about stretch goals next week, because I just want to bask in gratitude, honestly. Thank you all so much. 50 of you showed up and believe in this and are enjoying it. And if you haven't backed yet, consider it. And if you haven't downloaded this yet, what are you waiting for? If you've been watching this long, you obviously see some utility in this. I want people to get their hands on it, play test it. Let me know if something doesn't make sense or is broken, or it's all built to be adaptable. So I don't really think None of this is going to throw off your game balance, except maybe those magic items. But again, I don't give you stats, so you can throttle it to suit whatever tier of play or kind of game you're playing. And if you don't want your players to have a magic item, just give out number 1 or number 2 each time. And if they roll a magic, hey, what's this? I want the staff of the Barker. I want the wand of the Barker. Okay, cool. Here's the quest to go get it, right? I want to find, the magical MacGuffin might be the thing that's causing the wild magic surge. I got, Stupendous' feline flea circus vibe going on in my warped little brain. But yeah, it could be a magic item causing this wild magic madness going. So again, just from deep within my heart, thank you all so much for supporting the Verdigris Table, supporting the Game Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation. I am existing in just gratitude this weekend, and I'm going to enjoy it. I hope you all have a great weekend as well. Play some games, build some characters, build some worlds around these characters. See how this works with what you already got going. I mean, start from zero, make something fresh, but I don't know if it's next week or the week after, we're going to also look at using this. I mean, this is an excellent homebrew tool, but this is also great for adapting published work to connect to the players, the characters that they're bringing to the table, to make sure that the material you have, spent good money on and spent your time preparing is engaging to them. Because that's important. And if they don't engage and run somewhere else, you have thousands of ideas you can always fall back on and adapt to your campaign. So again, thank you all so much for watching and pledging and being backers and spreading the word. We're at the point now where it's all systems go here. The more folks backing this, the bigger this thing gets, the more you are going to receive. If you've backed this thing, it is worth it to you. Not only, to help me, deeply appreciate it, but you're helping yourself too, because the more people that are backing this, the more stuff is going to be in here, the more stuff you're going to be getting by April. I set the line for April because I wanted to make sure I could deliver, but I am trying to under promise and over deliver. So spring is, let's call it spring. There's going to be more than these 50 spreads if we start making numbers go up. And that's what us dice nerds love to do. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Be kind. Have fun. I will see you next time.